Hello everyone and welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Josh, joined today by Ewan Patterson.
Yes, you are. I am right here. It's great. It's a lovely Friday.
Right there, Ewan. We got that right. We've done this twice now because we both didn't realise we were going to introduce each other. But that is not the topic of this video. The topic of this video is Ghost of Tsushima, which had a huge blowout last night. 20 minutes of gameplay going into how the game plays, obviously, the setting, the customization elements, the exploration in a major PlayStation state of play. So we've got a lot to chew on. Ewan has broken down all the details because I know he's extremely excited about this. We're going to talk through them, talk about what our opinions of the game are, whether we're looking forward to it, and if we have any worries, because as much as I am looking forward to it, there are a few things that caught my eye in the trailer that are making me a little bit cautious, but we'll get to the good stuff first. What are your first?
Self-inflicted harm. I went to shake my fist and I went, which is great. Yeah, I'm really excited about this game. It just falls into that lovely bracket of history, action, everything. It's kind of what I want from a game, and I was very much blown away by what we saw yesterday. I was already kind of on board beforehand, but everything that they showed off, I was kind of just really impressed by. We know the game's coming out July 17th, which isn't very far away now, set during the Mongol invasion of Japan. You play as Jin, who is a lone samurai who basically goes from walking this honourable path to adopting almost like a ninja-style campaign against the Mongols until he becomes the legendary Ghost of Tsushima. So yeah, lots of stuff that they unveiled yesterday, and they kind of sucker punch broke it down into 3 different brackets. So you had exploration, you had combat, and then you had customization. And everything that I saw from all of those, I did think there were a few things that maybe weren't too compelling, but for the most part, I was very much blown away. And I think the main thing that I was blown away by is the presentation and the exploration itself, and the commitment to going away from typical UI. I'm a big fan of that. I love environmental storytelling. Developers relying on visual cues to tell a story more so than just a map and a waypoint. I will always encourage that because it further immerses the player, and the more we can get away from waypoints and mini-maps and different pings and such, and the more you can integrate that into gameplay itself, that's what I really enjoy. And I thought Red Dead Redemption 2 was there for the most part. Obviously it did have a mini-map, but it seems as though Ghost of Tsushima is taking that to a whole other level entirely. Jin will use the winds to basically guide his journey. There's all sorts of environmental cues telling you where to go, including wildlife, different bits of odd landmarks maybe, smoke and stuff. And yeah, it just looks absolutely stunning, and I can already see myself just getting lost in this world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The way that they've tackled exploration is the thing that I'm the most excited about. They did an interview, I think it was last month, where they were saying that they don't want the exploration to be dominated by UI elements. They don't want you to be following a waypoint the whole game. And I think there's actually no waypoints in there at all. Like you said, they're using in-game elements like animals, like the wind, to guide you to your destination. And for me, that's just so much more immersive. I think we're going to get into the Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Assassin's Creed General kind of comparisons, as we go on. But a lot of people have been pointing out the similarities between the game. But a key difference for me is that I've been really enjoying Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but you are just following waypoints. You're barely looking at the environment. You're going from one question mark to question mark, looking at your mini-map, and it doesn't seem to be the case here. You mentioned Red Dead Redemption 2. I think that's a great way to kind of, immerse you in the world, because although there are, points of interest on your map, and obviously you do have a waypoint, a lot of that game is kind of just discovered naturally with you wandering around. And Breath of the Wild, I think, is the game that does this the best. You have no waymarks. You are just making them yourself. You are looking out into the distance, and then you're putting them on your map, and then you can go there later on. And I just think that's such a much more interesting way to do exploration, because it doesn't dumb it down for the player, and it makes those moments where you come across, a shrine or a village or an enemy encampment feel that much more satisfying and earned and kind of more special. They don't just become the same old thing every time. You're not looking at the map saying, oh, that's a bandit camp, I'm going to go to that one, I'm going to go to that one, I'm not going to care about what's in the middle. You're actually involved in the exploration, because I think that's what a lot of open world games, especially Ubisoft ones, take for granted. Like, the act of getting around is treated as more of a chore or more of a inconvenience than it is something special in and of itself.
One of my favorite things to do in Skyrim was to just ignore the map entirely and use the different roads and sign directions to navigate myself around the map. Obviously that didn't work well when I ended up like 60 feet up a mountain and dying. But at the same time, I enjoy the ability to tell your own story and the idea of exploring yourself. It'll make you, that element of immersion is such an important one, and I feel as though what they're doing here is the right decision. I'm sure people may get, frustrated with the lack of UI, but for me, that is kind of where I want story-driven games to go to, especially open world games, because I kind of had an open world fatigue a few years back, where it was just nothing but UI blips all over the map. I tried getting into Horizon, and I know that does environmental storytelling well as well, but at the same time, it just wasn't that extra bit of hook that was there. We'll go into some of the different things as well, though. It is somewhat Assassin's Creed-y. They showed off some Mongol camps, some villages to liberate, and actual camps to eliminate. The horse gameplay, I think we've been spoiled by Red Dead Redemption 2's horses, because this didn't look as it didn't look as realistic, is what I'm going to say, and that's obviously because Rockstar spent ridiculous. You probably had 5 men just working on the horse's bulls for the entire development. So, but yeah, the combat as well looked absolutely incredible. And I do have a few questions about this one. So you have 2 approaches, so one of them is the Honorable Samurai, where you basically go and, it's all about the code of honor that the samurai have. You approach your enemies from the front. You look them in the eyes, you kill them, and you pay your respects at the same time. You can open up duels as well, kind of sort of how you had in Red Dead 2, where you'd have the showdowns with would-be challengers, except here you approach them, which is pretty cool. And then obviously the ghost gameplay, which certainly feels as though it's the more exciting gameplay path, I'm going to say, and definitely the more there's a narrative incentive to it as well. So the entire game, you're building up the legend of the ghost, and the more legend and notoriety you kind of generate from playing as a ghost, the more the Mongols will actually fear you. So we see here they've got a really, really good fear mechanic where Jin can use all sorts of different environmental distractions. He has firecrackers, he has bows, he has katanas, he has the shorter katana as well, a wakizashi, I think it's called. I butchered that pronunciation terribly, but it's really, really cool. And you see the enemies kind of fleeing as he approaches, and I love the idea of an actual organic fear system that kind of comes into play. I hope it doesn't get too repetitive if you have the same animations repeating themselves, but I like it on paper for now.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw it and I was looking at kind of the missions that we had and the styles of gameplay, I was at first apprehensive when they were talking about stealth, and you saw the guy throw essentially a rock to distract the guard, and then he was sneaking in for, stealth kills and stuff, because it's kind of what we've done before. But the actual way those are presented and accomplished in-game looked so satisfying. When he did that first stealth kill and it was so fast and brutal, my jaw kind of dropped a bit. Even the bow and arrow, which is obviously something that's been in games it's been popularized for the last decade now. It's been in every open world game, more or less, every action game. But when, you had that focus shot to some guy's head, and he sort of came off his feet when he got hit, that little detail made me giddy. I've never been giddier at a video game death more than I have that little moment. Like the violence on display, the kind of what looks to be the responsiveness of it kind of elevates those core mechanics for me. I think they are familiar, but they look like they've been done really well. They look like they've been done in a really satisfying way. And the differences in the play styles are actually quite, they're distinct. They're not just kind of something you can build into your regular, gameplay loop. You can't do everything. It seems like you're going to have to commit to one or the other, at least for the most part, to upgrade your character and get the most out of them. And for me, that's a more interesting way to do it, especially when you tie the story to it, like you said, the mythology of the ghost and striking fear into the hearts of your enemies. That, for me, is what sets this apart from Assassin's Creed or other games that on paper do the exact same thing. I hope that does carry in throughout the rest of the game and it doesn't get repetitive, like you say. I hope it doesn't become mundane, because my first thoughts watching it are like, this looks good. I can't wait to try both of these playstyles out and figure out which one I like for myself, because I think it's, even though you're doing your regular hack and slash stuff, when you're doing the parries, when you're kind of analyzing your enemies' movements and their strikes and stuff, it looks so high risk and high reward that's what I'm here for. I'm not just here for a button masher. I'm here to kind of be a slow, methodical samurai, but then, whip out these lightning fast strikes that take your enemies out in one hit and whop limbs off and, have blood gushing everywhere. It sounds incredibly violent, but that's what I want out of a game like this.
Yeah, no, it's cinematic is the first thing that comes to mind, and it definitely feels as though the entire game has been built around those old kind of Kurosawa films where everything is so methodical and precise, and it just looks so good. Well, actually, so the combat itself kind of reminded me a little bit of the Fallen Order style Souls variation of gameplay, where you got to count into your stamina, you got all the parries and strikes are obviously very important too. But the one thing that I'm really excited about here is the customization and the fact that actually impacts the different styles of play that you have. So you can get heavier armor, and that will allow you to take more punishment, in actual combat itself. Then you can also opt for lighter armor, and that will help you be stealthier and sneakier and faster. And I like the idea that it all kind of comes into play, and the fact that you can pick up different flowers to dye your clothes different colors and pigments, and the customization on offer to tailor your experience to how you want it. That's probably the biggest selling point for me on this game, right on down to the fact that you can play the entire game in a Japanese dub,
yes.
Which is something that I was hoping for. It might be a bit of a fruitless endeavor for me, because if I'm looking at subtitles the entire time while I'm playing a video game, I'm probably going to lose different visual or audio cues in the game. But it's something that I really want to try. And then also, of course, even though the game itself looks so beautiful in color, that classic black and white film grain filter that you can put on just looks so cinematic and so cool. And my big fear, Josh, is that I'm going to be in the menu for most of this game, choosing I want Jin to wear, and whether I want to have it in Japanese dub or black and white or whatever. It's just going to be me. It's bad for someone who is so indecisive like me, because I will never be able to settle on one thing.
I fully agree. As someone who constantly switches between HDR and not HDR on his video games, having more options to flick between is just not. It's not good for me, and it's going to take me hundreds of hours just to get out the menus for this game. But I love that those options are there. They had a Japanese dub in Sekiro, but obviously this is a way more narrative-heavy game, so there's going to be way more, story. There's going to be way more dialogue. There's going to be way more reading, essentially. So I'm excited to see that properly realized. You know what I mean? It's such a great idea, and it kind of makes me think that they're taking this seriously. They're trying to create this authentic experience that it doesn't just pay homage to movies and cinema and other areas of fiction, but actually is trying to slot alongside that canon. And I think that's what Red Dead Redemption did really well. I know we're using that and Assassin's Creed a lot as a comparison, but I think they're probably the most apt. Red Dead Redemption doesn't just play up Western tropes or Western movies. Obviously there's a lot of homaging in there and references, but it feels like it exists alongside those other entries into the canon, you know what I mean? And I hope this does too. I hope it's not just a pastiche, and it feels like they're doing everything they can to not make that happen, and to make it kind of work on its own and be influenced by obviously a bunch of other great samurai movies and stuff, but not simply be a reference fest or kind of play second fiddle to it, which I don't know, man. I'm really hyped for it. There are some things that I'm not entirely sold on yet, but I think that's just because we haven't seen everything. The missions that we saw in this gameplay reveal were very much side missions. They were raiding camps. They were destroying caches and stuff like that. They were going to shrines. I want to see more of the actual story and the actual side quests, but obviously we're a few months from release, and all of that is yet to come out.
Yeah, exactly. There's a few other things that I forgot to mention as well. There's a charm/perk system, and they sound as though they've all been modelled on different Twitter accounts in the way that they actually had the charm of what was it? Toxic Resent or something was one of the ones that I saw.
Good.
And I'm trying to find it now. Here we go. Charm of Toxic Demise, which is what I call when someone's gone on a massive Twitter rant and then they get banned. And then the Charm of Unseen Respite as well, is when you fester on your emotions just looking at someone else's Twitter account. But yeah, no, the cool different perk system in play. I'm really excited about that. And also the most important thing that I can't believe I've forgotten. Yes, you can pet the fox. You can pet the fox.
Yes, you can pet the fox. You can pet the fox. When he went up to the fox and petted it, I was like, yeah, Game of the Year, 2020. It doesn't matter what else comes out. You can pet the fox. That should be the headline we run with for this video, I think.
I don't even need to do a review anymore. Everyone will just know it. 10 out of 10. You can pet the fox.
Isn't there there's a Twitter account called Can You Pet the Dog, isn't it? I think that's a thing for games. Well, they're going to have to change it after this to Can You Pet the Fox, because this needs to set a precedent going forward. If you can't, in other open world games, what's the point of even coming out? If you're going to copy one thing from Ghost of Tsushima, it's going to be petting the fox. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are you looking forward to this Sony exclusive? Are you put off by what you've seen? And do you fall somewhere in the middle? Either way, could you let us know, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I'm Josh. You can follow me on Twitter at JoshBroom with 2 O's, joined by Ewan, who you can follow on Twitter at
Ewan Ruins Things.
And we will see you soon. We've got some great band names now, Ewan. Like those charms I'm going to use as either a band name or an album name. That's what I'm going to do as soon as this video ends. Bye.
I am Jack's complete toxic despise. Demise. I can't even get it right. Ah.
You're almost right. You can't copyright infringe.
No.